The warriors began to fade until they were little more than a starry sheen around the slopes of the hollow, and then they were gone. Leafpaw caught one more breath of spotted leaf scent before that faded too. She looked up and saw that the sky was growing brighter. Sorreltail was standing at the top of the hollow, looking down at her. Leafpaw ran up the path to join her. "Did you see them?" she asked excitedly. Sorreltail dipped her head on one side. "See who?" "Starclan! They were here, all around the hollow. I spoke to Blue Star and Feathertail for some reason." Leafpaw trailed off when she saw that Sorreltail was looking bewildered and a little wary. "I saw a bright mist rising from the pool," she mewed hesitantly. "That must have been them," Leafpaw told her. She gazed around the hollow with the sound of tumbling starlit water filling her ears. "This is the place." "Are you sure?" At that moment, the rays of the moon caught the surface of the water, and pure white light flooded the hollow. "Yes, I'm sure," Leafpaw mewed. "We no longer have the moonstone. We have the moon pool. This is the place where Starclan will share tongues with us." She turned to Sorreltail, feeling her fur glitter with starlight. "We found it! This is where the clans are meant to be!" My name is Spencer Grant, and you're listening to Fourtrees, a Warrior Cats community podcast. Last week, I was joined by Invader Fuzzytalon to discuss the book Starlight. Invader Fuzzytalon, for those of you who are not in the know, is a very cool Warrior Cats artist. He does animation. He actually has a really neat YouTube channel where he has this 5-part series about Warrior Cats and how the book series interacts with ecology and how ecology functions in real life, which I would seriously suggest listening to or watching if you get the chance, because we do talk a little bit about science stuff in this episode, and I'm not sure how much context you would need for that, because we do get pretty basic on in terms of that, but it would be it honestly educate yourself. It's fun. But anyways, let's just we talked about the book Starlight. We discussed how disappointed we were in Brambleclaw, how disappointed we were in the way that the plot progresses, and how disappointed we are in just about everything else that this book has to offer. So if you're interested in listening to that discussion and you haven't heard it already, I would suggest listening to that before listening to this one, just so you may have a better idea of what we're on about and catch any jokes or references we started in the previous episode.
Oh, same as you were like, "Oh, we'll read Starlight," and I was like, "Okay, I remember a grand total of one thing that happens in that book."
And dang if it didn't happen.
Man, it sure did.
It's easy to say I miss when things happened, and I know I've already said it once, so I'll try to avoid saying it again. But at the very least, I miss when characters were a little bit smarter about thinking when things didn't happen.
Yeah.
I remember when Brambleclaw was a kid, when he was Bramblepaw, he ran to the two-leg place to hang out on the fence, and Firestar was also there, and he was like, "Hey Bramblepaw, what's up? It's me, your mentor Fireheart." And Bramblepaw was like, "Hey, I know that you don't like me because I look just like my dad, and I think that that's kind of messed up of you, and I know it's something I'm gonna have to be facing for my entire life, but I just feel like sometimes it's a lot of pressure to put on one cat, and I don't think it's particularly fair." And then Firestar was like, "Whoa, okay," and he stopped, judging Brambleclaw for basically the entire rest of the series. And what happened to that kid?
Oh, and now that kid's grown up, and now he takes it personally.
It sucks. Is he still a teenager? I don't know what the dealio is with the cats, and
I have no idea what the age conversion is on this.
I feel how you to some extent studied cats for your thesis and such.
Yeah.
Did that give you any insight as to how to interpret some of the stuff in these books at all?
Sexual maturity in a cat's around 6 months, so I would say early teen is apprentice age.
Okay. Makes a lot of relationships a lot less uncomfortable, which I guess is an okay thing.
Still grimacing. Young, but by the time that they receive warrior name, they're probably at least late teen at the earliest.
So does it I don't know, arrest at some point? where they just kind of plateau and start being...
Yeah, probably. Another thing that I noticed in these books is like the way that these cats age is very funny between like the first arc and wherever we are currently. Where like Mousefur was like a young warrior in the very first book, and now she's already like, I am old and frail and dying.
I assume to some extent it's because of the fact that like these cats are picking up all kinds of crazy diseases and worms, and while the medicine cats can to some extent mitigate it, I don't think that they can take care of it completely. I think these cats are falling apart at the seams by the time that they reach these age, because they've picked up so many diseases that they would normally I don't know, see a vet about or something, or like die on their own about. And what they've managed to do is mitigate the symptoms, but not the actual thing. That's my headcanon.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know if like the events in like the first half of this series is maybe some form of trauma on their bodies that they're just like, okay, we are all old pretty fast.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that it definitely did something to Crowfeather, if not mentally, then physically, because like I feel bad for that kid.
Yeah.
I feel like he got... I mentioned this a few episodes ago, but I know that nobody listens to this, so I'll repeat it. I feel like Crowfeather really got the short end of the stick insofar as, like, his, I don't know, entire personality goes. Like, his... basically, as soon as he was introduced to the other prophecy cats, he had... I don't know, he boxed himself into this heuristic where he's like, all right, I don't trust these guys, so I'm going to be super abrasive and, like, kind of mean. Because, you know, they're not cool like my Windclan friends are. And basically throughout the entire rest of their journey, he's kind of, whenever they think about him without talking to him, they're thinking about him within the context of that first impression. And consequently, you know, they're less inclined to think well of him, and he's less inclined to think well of them because of the way that they react to, you know, his behavior. But, like, he's just a kid. Everybody's a moody teen at one point. I was an awful teen, I'll say it. It's like... I don't know, I feel really bad for him because, like, now basically, you know, they come back and he's forced to interact. He's taken a very, I don't know, personal experience with these cats who are only treating him like, you know, how he treated them when he was a kid. At no point did their relationship ever evolve, and the only person it ever evolved with was Feathertail, who is now dead, which is kind of sad. And by the time he gets back, now he's kind of forced to act within those trappings again around the other cats and his family because it's so irrevocably changed a big part of who he is. So now he's just kind of stuck being a jerk for the rest of his life because, you know, he decided that he did not immediately trust these prophecy cats who were all already friends.
And it, like, paints him for the rest of the series, too, because I know everyone's super divided on Crowfeather. That I wouldn't be surprised if part of that is just because we get a lot of perspective chapters from characters who don't like him, because he's very standoffish, at least in the beginning.
I feel for the kid. I don't know if any of the other characters in the new prophecy merit that kind of in-depth thinking. But also I worry to some extent because I think that trying to forgive male characters who are awful is setting a bad precedent for events that might happen in the future. I don't know what goes on with Ashfur, but I know that something goes on with Ashfur because everybody's talking about stuff that happens with Ashfur, and I worry. And I guess we're seeing the start of that in this book when Squirrel Flight has her new best friends that she hangs out with because Brambleclaw is too busy being indoctrinated into right-wing politics.
It sucks because everyone is like very good in the first arc, pretty good in the first half of this arc, and then it's like, okay, we have plot to get to, time to start breaking apart relationships and character dynamics.
Like, I wouldn't mind that so much if the dynamics were, like, more interesting than just, like, these two characters stare at each other and think about things. Like, at the very least, I don't know, some unlikely friendships would be cool. I would like to see, like, I don't know, Leafpaw getting along really well with Brambleclaw. Because, you know, they both have one thing in common. And, you know, this drives tension between Squirrel Flight and Leafpaw because now, you know, she feels like she has something that she can't relate with Leafpaw with. And, you know, I don't know, it would be cool. It would be interesting. But, like, all it is this, I don't know, it's Jane Austen does it best. You know, if you read Pride and Prejudice, you see these characters staring at each other and thinking about things. You're like, dang, this is engaging. This is beautiful. You know, I read Emma and I'm like, whoa, this is incredible. Somebody should make a movie about a high schooler setting up two of her teachers. That would rock. Paul Rudd should be in it. But, you know, if I read these books and it's just boring. I don't know what about it that they're not doing right, but something feels extremely wrong. And it's frustrating.
Yeah. I feel like they don't have the right build up here.
Yeah, that could be a lot of it. I think that well, they say in storytelling that an issue with the third act is always an issue with the first act. And I don't know if this is either. I feel like these books are all second act, and that might be itself a pretty big issue.
Yeah. There's never like really good establishing. There's never fantastic payoff. We are just stuck in the second act.
What's the problem at the start of this book? The big problem at the start of this book. The cats are at the lake, but they don't know how they're going to settle in. What gets resolved at the end of the book? The cats are settled in. Cool. We've got ourselves a cohesive tie from the beginning to the end. That's great. What do we do in between then? Literally nothing. Nothing happens. They just sit around for a month, and then
if Tallstar didn't die, even less would happen.
That's true. Tallstar dies, declaring that race wars are complete BS, and then nothing happens.
Yeah, and everyone's like, actually, I don't like that. Tallstar was the closest we had to world peace.
If only. What worries me, too, is that, with Starclan becoming so prescient, I feel like that revelation might not even have any meaning because, I don't know, maybe at some point Tallstar will come back from the dead as a ghost and be like, actually, I was joking, ooh, or something like that. I don't freaking know. Do non-Thunderclan leaders get resurrected? I know that Thunderclan is the only important one, since we've only seen Blue Star, but, it would be cool. I guess Shadowclan leaders get resurrected too. They just only get to hang out in Brambleclaw and Hawkfrost streams. So
I also love the fact that when Leafpaw sees all the dead cats at the moon pool, at no point does Tallstar come over and is like, by the way, I meant what I said.
It would be good. She didn't know what he said. I don't think she was there. It was just Firestar and Brambleclaw was also there for some reason. I guess because, I
mean, wouldn't that be something if it's we finally got message from Starclan. Also, yeah, One Whisker, you are, in fact, ordained to lead.
It would be cool. Would be very cool if we could just, clear that up. If Starclan could talk to us instead of being, deliberately obtuse about everything. Well,
instead, they're like, actually, we need a gathering place. Here, Mudclaw.
We should have, a really cool prophecy or something like that. Quick, somebody make something up, and then we'll just, try to influence cats to fulfill it. I think it might be fun.
That feels a lot of what Starclan's about.
Starclan confuses me to no end here. I liked it back when they were of religion.
When they felt a lot more ethereal. And now they're just kind of well, this sure is a dead cat.
It's a shame. They've somehow managed to squander the most interesting part of a cat ghost existing by making the cat ghosts extremely uninteresting and a little bit foolish.
Yeah.
God, there was this other part in this book where Brambleclaw was thinking to himself. Basically, every 5 pages in this book, Brambleclaw is this feels like the final step in the journey that began with the dream that sent me to the Sundrown place. And I guess this book is where we saw the last of it when they started taking everybody back to their home territories. That was about it. But man, it was for the first half when they were exploring the territories and looking for, places to live, which was it was a really long portion of this book for no reason.
Yeah, I was surprised at how long that took, both in terms of 2 days and also that it was a solid third of the book. It just
doesn't make any... Whatever. I'm over it. I'm a grown-up. I can fight my own battles and exist in my own head. I don't need to think about this. It's just so freaking goofy. Okay, so you at some point did study wildlife ecology, whether or not you were continuing to do that. I think you mentioned that you were not going to because you're more interested in the animation stuff, or what's the dealio with your thing?
I am a person of many interests, so as far as any of these postgraduate things going on, not entirely sure what I'm doing except for a whole lot of art all over the place.
I respect that. Could you, so in regards to what in particular did you study insofar as, I don't know, ecology stuff? Because I know you said you didn't know very much about plants, and that was about it.
Yeah, the wildlife ecology or wildlife management certificate on the side, which was, in my case, a lot of learning about North American animals, learning about ecology, things like that.
That does sound really cool. So As a person who is uniquely qualified to know things about North American animals, what was your take on this lake territory? Did you notice any like interesting stuff, any inaccurate stuff, any ridiculous stuff while they were going around for like 60 freaking pages talking about this lake territory, looking for places to live?
I mean, for sure, the original territories were based off England. They're still talking about things like hedgehogs. There's only been one sighting of a mountain lion, which either I know sometimes big cats get loose in England. That's apparently a phenomenon. I've like heard of it. I don't know. There's like the bedtime stories YouTube channel of like, oh, scary stories. There's something in England, and it's like half the time this scary creature is just whoops, some rich person accidentally let their big cat free.
And then
So like that's sometimes a thing that would happen. I would not doubt that that's a thing. You could just leave a mountain lion out there.
does that ever happen in the States?
Yeah. I mean, I know you had mentioned in passing one time that like this could be Eastern US.
Yeah.
Or Canada or something of the like.
The fandom says it's New York.
I know that there's no mountain lions in the Eastern US. They're all like as far east as they're going is like the Florida panther.
Maybe it's not a mountain lion, maybe it's a
So
puma.
I don't really see that. As well as the fact that there's never any large mammals.
Maybe it's a cougar?
It's all this. There's so many different names. Could be a puma. Could be a cougar. Mountain lion. Catamount.
Catamount?
Apparently.
That's a new one. Catamount. Catamount?
There's so many names for mountain
This
lions.
is taking a while to sink into my head. Catamount?
Apparently.
Oh, that's messed up, man. Oh
Puma
my
concolor.
What have I got myself into? Catamount?
This is the final straw.
I'm so tired.
You've had a long day. It's time for a nap.
I can't take a nap. I got a live stream in a couple of hours.
Oh, no.
That's fine. Live streams are easy.
A couple of hours. It's time for a nap in there. You just pass out and then come right back. I did in math class all the time.
Oh, nice. I was never that cool to like sleep in math class. What I did do was there was a guy who sat next to me who played Isaac every day, and I would just watch him play Isaac while my teacher talked about like tangents and stuff. And that was
Yeah, that sounds like a thing to do. I wouldn't doubt it.
I could never nap though. Like napping in school always frightened me because like what if I got caught, you know? What if I got in trouble?
I got really good at the process of still looking like I was semi-conscious, but then my notes are just a giant page of scribbles.
Oh, so it's not like the close eye kind of nap. It's the stare into infinity.
Oh, it was, and it was like very much, I am still in a somewhat upright position and I am trying so hard to take notes. It is not working.
That's impressive then, if you can learn how to draw while sleeping. I feel like that's the kind of thing you could like put up in an art.
Like one set of notes from herpetology where it's like the title slide, whole bunch of scribbles, a note where I just say sleepy, and then I try to draw a graph.
Wait, herpetology isn't math.
No, that
Were you
was,
sleeping during lizard class?
Yeah,
Was
because sometimes you get tired. Especially, I think that one was like a 9 a.m. class.
9 a.m. Oh my god. Somebody's freaking stop this madman. He's sleeping at 9 a.m. Jesus. What's so boring about lizards that you can't stay awake during herpetology? I can't.
The fact that I was tired.
Fine. Yeah, it's fair. Whatever. It's 9 p.m. over here, and I'm freaking losing it. I guess I can't chastise you too much for not being awake at 9 in the morning. Did you have eggs that day?
What?
Did you have eggs that day, like to eat with your mouth?
Probably not.
Must have been it, dude. If you had eggs, I guarantee you'd be awake the entire freaking time during that herpetology class, thinking about how lizards lay egg.
Unlock the secret. Gotta go back to college and start taking those 8
Yeah.
a.m.s where no one else will.
Honestly, it's the keys to the kingdom. I talked to my brother about eggs recently. I was like, Cole, gotta eat eggs. And he looked at me and he said, what the frick are you talking about? Except for that he used a stronger word that I'm not gonna repeat here because that will make more work for me later to censor it with the sound of me strumming a violin. And I said, Cole, seriously, it's all about eggs. And then he ignored me. And now he's got to wake up at like 4 a.m. to take his online classes because his school is in New York and he's back in California. And he rings me every once in a while and says, hey, Spencer, it's all about those eggs. And I'm like, yeah, I told you. You can't pull it.
Bringing out the real wisdom.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is what people tune into Fourtrees for.
These extra little tidbits that you wouldn't know unless you got this far in the podcast.
This stuff weirds me out, man. Like, people are listening to this. I thought I was just doing this for me, but apparently there's like an audience of like a significant amount of people, a significant more amount of people than just me, who are like putting this on and like, oh yeah, can't wait to see what Spencer's got to say today. And it's like, what do you mean you can't? I'm just gonna talk about eggs for half an hour. Like, this isn't, whatever. I'll stop getting meta. It's definitely not in New York, then, these books.
No, I wouldn't think so. Another thing that isn't super surprising, because that would just create a lot of whatever the heck's going on. Never see any large mammals, except for, like, the horses.
What would you call a large mammal?
And the sheep. Like, nothing non-domestic.
I feel like I don't have that great of a definition of that as a city boy who only goes into the forest to, I don't know, do city boy things. Vape, I guess?
Yeah. What was the name of that class?
There's a vaping class?
Like large...
Oh.
No, not the vaping class.
All right.
No, we had habitat management, small wildlife. I want whichever one the big wildlife was, but whatever. In that class, I think we defined it as anything larger than 50 pounds.
Okay. What would be larger than bears?
Which I think, like... Yeah. I mean, there's no bears anywhere. Nothing like... Oh gosh, what's the name of the animal? Bighorn sheep. Nothing like elk.
Oh.
Deer. Moose.
That's a good point. Forgot about deer.
Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't seen at least like one deer just in the forest.
Do bears exist in the UK? I wonder if... I feel like I haven't seen one recently.
I'm not sure. I don't think so. Could be wrong, but I don't think so.
We have foxes for sure. We have got weird badgers. We don't have raccoons.
Mainland.
If we see a raccoon, that's gonna cinch it, because I know those are North American exclusive.
Fun little North American exclusive, except for also in, I think, Germany and Japan, because they're like, we can import this, and then they just go everywhere.
Oh, really? Oh, that's messed up. I mean...
Yeah, I remember we had to do the German AP test in, like, I think 2015, and there was an entire, like, written portion on the raccoon. It's like, oh, apparently they have those in Germany.
I mean, first of all, props for knowing enough German to take the AP test, because I know that's hard. And secondly... That's incredible, and I don't know how I feel about it. So are they, like, just in Germany, or have they, like, spread all around? Because I feel like raccoons don't have very much respect for human borders. But also, I don't know to the extent of which they roam.
I don't think they've gone super far. I was surprised doing the thesis research that tanukis very much in Europe.
What?
For some reason. Them little Japanese raccoon dogs.
Yeah.
Apparently there's a lot of them in... I want to say the Baltic area. Not the best geography, but...
That's fine. Nobody...
I know when I was looking things up, and it's like, oh, these badger sets. A lot of tanukis just chilling around them.
Were there any other surprising discoveries you learned whilst doing that research?
I wouldn't say super surprising discoveries.
There
was so much research that had to go into those.
That's fair. I guess, like, by a certain point, you kind of have an idea about what you're, like, what the idea is, and you're just kind of looking for more numbers to support what you say. But it's science.
Yeah, I mean, to some degree, I've been trained in this, so me just searching for, like, I know what I'm trying to look for, and if I find things that back it up, I think it would be more surprising.
To find stuff that doesn't.
Hearing from anyone who's not so familiar with any ecology or those kind of ideas, what they felt about any of the research.
That's fair. I think I've never studied a hard science, unfortunately. They don't let me. They say my hands are too delicate for it. But in a lot of soft sciences, you have this problem where, like, if you're doing research, you'll come across too many things that'll just, like, completely disagree with you. And it's like, well, I guess I gotta include this in the paper now. Some people say, some sources or whatever. Like, if I'm I write some things about linguistics from time to time, and lots of people in linguistics will disagree with each other. Not out of, like, spite or rivalry or anything, but just because, like, everybody thinks that language is super interesting and is genuinely excited to learn about different facets. And if you say, well, actually, in this area, people are more likely to do this than this, and somebody else disagrees, that just means that there's a really exciting wrinkle that has yet to be discovered or defined clearly. So all over the place and impossible to lock down. And I'm super glad that I don't actually professionally study linguistics, because I don't think I ever could have the patience to scroll through like all of this stuff and be like, well, okay, let's see, what's the sample size on this? Is this reasonable? Can I include this in the whatever?
And it's like when I had originally pitched my thesis, how it was like, my thesis director was like, you should maybe have a minimum of 5 sources per thing that you're researching. I'm like, okay, I am ending up with like 20 sources per video, but that's my problem.
Oh, that is absolutely magnificent. I commend you for that, truly.
I would like find one thing and be like, actually, I would like to back this up several more times, or I want even more info on this, that I would just suddenly end up with a million sources.
I feel that. I think like reading source cited on like papers that like I'm looking through and seeing other papers that I recognize is such a like fun feeling. Like, I don't know if you're into marine science at all.
A little bit,
There's this really great book by Ricketts something called Between Pacific Tides, and it gets cited a whole bunch because it was one of the earliest, I guess, guides about sea critters that were in the Pacific Ocean, like on the Pacific coast of the U.S. And I see it all the time whenever I'm like doing research on like spiny sea urchins or whatever, and I'm like, oh, there you are. I also think they're just fun to read the source cited, because then I get to see other stuff that I might be interested in. Like, there's this one time I was looking at nudibranchs and how they eat tube anemones and like the food relationship between the two of them, because nudibranchs will like eat some parts of the anemones, but they won't eat them completely because they know that the anemones can regrow and then they can come back later and get more of them.
Oh, interesting.
It's just so cool. And, there was this one part of it that I was like, wait, the anemone can eject? Why doesn't it just do that? And I could go down to the bottom and find the paper about the tube anemone and read that. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, cool. It's fun. I'm 100% with you. Like, sources are just great.
There's also the one point for video 4, which was on like interactions with other mesopredators, that when I was going through my sources, I saw something and I was like, oh, something about this name looks familiar. And then I remembered it was my wildlife ecology professor.
Oh, that's incredible.
I was like, oh, that's right, Dr. Lewis. He has told us like in lectures about like, oh, this was my project in Colorado on mountain lion and bobcat density in relation to human settlement.
That is crazy cool. How do you, is there any way to cite stuff in a lecture, or do you have to find the paper out of curiosity? I'm never going to have to cite a paper again.
I mean,
so.
I'm sure that there is like a citing. Yeah. Like I'm sure that there is a citing method for when you hear something either in a video or in a lecture. I don't know it offhand. And also I would just be looking at notes for that, but absolutely just went through the whole paper. Like, yes, I've seen some of these images before during lecture slides.
That is cool. I'd say you're fortunate, but I know it's, well, yeah, you are fortunate. I hope you're proud of the work that you put in to make that kind of stuff and get into that research and become literate in that particular area of science. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a privilege to go to college at all and study this, which is part of why I was like more than willing to spend my last like 2 semesters putting together education for the general public.
That's honestly really great. Have you heard of that program, Skype a Scientist?
I have, yes. It is definitely something that interests me. I like science communication and education. I think it makes it a much better place around here.
I'm inclined to agree. Do you offhand happen to know any other good science communication topics that people might be able to look into if they're interested in learning more after this podcast? It can be for the area that you know or the areas that you don't or whatever. Not
a whole lot. I mean, one thing that I definitely recommend is just following people on Twitter who strike your interest as like, oh, this, especially just researchers of any type of like, I know I follow a squid scientist.
Wait, which squid scientist? Is it? Yeah, if you're on Twitter, follow Sarah McAnulty, she's the coolest squid scientist in the world.
Yeah, I think it's that.
And I really hope that the other squid scientist I follow doesn't hear me say that, because I will be very sad. If,
any squid scientists happen to be here on the Warrior Cats podcast.
I don't know, man. Ruth Eisenberg, she could be anywhere. Yeah. Who's the Corvid researcher again? I forget her name. I follow her too.
I do not remember offhand. I know that there's also there's someone who wrote like a little picture book whose name escapes me that's very good at just like cute little science comics and things like that one of my professors would always include at the end of exams.
There's Abby Howard who did Junior Science Power Hour or something like that, like as a webcomic, and I know that she did like dinosaur paleontology stuff. And then there's, what's her name? I know her blog name is like biologizing or something like that. She does jellyfish research. Oh, biologizable? I'm not sure. Whatever. She does really cool science communication about invertebrates, I think in particular, and birds too. But mostly she's a jelly scientist.
I found the one of Rosemary Moscow. Who wrote "Birding is my favorite video game." Yeah, I've seen a lot of those little.
Oh yeah, these ones. Oh my
very
god,
very cute, very concise.
Oh my, yeah, I see these all the time as well. It's great. All right, yeah.
Definitely think the best that you can do for science communication is just follow more people who are talking about science.
Definitely.
Be willing to be interested in something. Maybe pick some topic that you're interested in and look more into.
There are a lot of scientists who are great at like keeping their work unpretentious, which I think is very good for general public access. Like all the scientists that we've talked about here are just like super good at removing all of the layers. Like they don't talk about chemistry or like phospholipids or whatever the usual biology stuff that you think about whenever you think about your time in school. No like polymers or whatever. It's all just like, silly facts about jellyfish and stuff. It's great.
Yeah, everyone willing to talk to the general public.
Oh, Dr. David Schiffman is pretty good too. He's all about sharks. He shows up on Shark Week a lot, which is... I have mixed feelings about Shark Week, I'll be honest. Yeah. It used to be really good, and then they kind of like messed it up because they stopped listening to the scientists and started trying to make stuff more exciting, and it's just kind of a mess right now. But also, I live in a town that's like basically the entire film industry here is predicated on documentary filmmaking.
Oh, nice.
And I want to be in the film industry, so I know I'm gonna have to work on some stupid, inaccurate Shark Week things at some point in the future. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. I'll have time to reconcile it, but I'm not looking forward to it. Mm-hmm. All right. Is there anything else about this book that you want to talk about before we adjourn?
Remember there was one point that I remembered like a solid 20 minutes ago and then I forgot it until you brought it up again just now. That I've heard people say that why on earth is it leaf pool and crowfeather when a much better chemistry is between like squirrel flight and crowfeather? Which I had not considered before I had seen that take on Twitter. But now I'm like, actually, maybe people are right.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense, actually. Like, I guess they spent time together. They know each other. God, I like that, too. Now I'm mad. Oh, it's got to be Brambleclaw. He's, I guess, our protagonist. Our protagonist has to end up with a love interest because otherwise there's no progression or whatever. It's stupid. I really don't like the commodification of Squirrel Flight in this book. They treat her like a prize to be won, and I guess that's going to be a problem that persists throughout the series until eventually their children are born and stuff. But like, man, that's really frustrating that she's, I guess, stopped being a... I don't know. She's just playing hard to get, I guess, within the narrative of the book. She's whatever. If I think about it too much.
Does she even get perspective chapters in this?
I don't know if I don't think she gets perspective chapters in this.
Now that I think about it, I'm like, this is pretty much only Brambleclaw and Leafpaw.
I think it is, yeah. That's fine. Whatever. God, we don't even get to...
Fine, I guess. We'll all appreciate Squirrel Flight enough for everyone.
Yeah, this is true. The fandom is turned around on Squirrel Flight in a major way recently, which I appreciate. And now I can actually call her Squirrel Flight instead of Squirrel Paw, which I also appreciate. I think she gets a perspective chapter like right at the beginning when Brambleclaw is approached by Hawkfrost. Oh, wait, no, that's not right in the beginning. That's just like in the middle, but it's at the beginning in my notes because nothing important happens until then. Okay.
It's after the giant lake scene.
God, it's so cool. What a great book that we read. Thank you so much, my dude, for suffering through this with me. I'm sorry to have inflicted this book upon you.
Oh, it's fine. Nice to get back to a Warrior Cats book, even if it is absolutely nothing happening for a whole bunch of chapters.
Oh, now you know what you've been missing for all this time. Well, I guess you haven't really left the fandom, have you? You've been here, though.
Well, no, I didn't, like, air quotations, officially join until, like, 2017, 2018. For the first, like, half decade prior, I was just like lurking in the shadows, like, warrior
You weren't
cats.
like on the forums or anything?
I was like, actually,
role playing
I'm
as
turning
your
into an animator.
OC Fuzzytalon.
I was absolutely on the official forums back in 2010.
That's what I like to hear. Oh, before we go, actually,
You're welcome.
what clan do you identify as out of these four, or do you have like a fan clan that you feel strongly
Fan
towards?
clans are funny as far as that goes. Also, divides my loyalty, in which the primary clan of my Warrior Cats OC story is Shadowclan Riverclan.
What?
My Warrior Cats OCs are a giant mess.
I want to know more about this. I'm sorry. I know I was trying to wrap things up, but actually this is far more interesting. Can we talk about this? Scooting my seat back so I can lean in.
Yeah.
So what's the deal with Shadowclan Riverclan?
My Warrior Cats OC story has that fun thing where I have attempted to adapt it from 6th grade role-playing during recess. And our whole thing was, so we had Shadowclan and we had Riverclan. And then Riverclan got wiped out because there were some of us who were really into Warrior Cats, and then some of us who were really into wolves. You know how people are in 6th grade. And so the wolves decided they wanted all the territory, so they took it from Riverclan, and then they took it from Shadowclan.
What?
And so Shadowclan was like, okay, well, we can't have that territory anymore, so they moved into Riverclan territory.
Oh my God.
And they were like, I guess we are also Riverclan now. And then they made a pact with the wolves that they were like, if you help us take down Thunderclan, we will give you back Shadowclan territory. So then they just decided we're combining into Shadowclan Riverclan, and as I write out my Warrior Cats OC story, I have to kick myself every single time because that's such a long clan title.
Shadowclan Riverclan, huh? That is beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. That's I will I guess for the podcast visualizer, I'll like split Shadowclan Riverclan down the middle or something like that. That's great.
No earthly clue when my Warrior Cats OC stuff will be ready for posting, but working on that in the background.
Alright, and I think that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for listening to Fourtrees, our Warrior Cats community podcast. I've been your host, Spencer Grant. I'd like to thank our guest, Invader Fuzzytalon, for joining us for the last little while. You've been an absolute pleasure to have, and I love the story about your stuff, man. That's so cool. That's adorable. It's just, yeah. Before we go and do the rest of the outro, I do want to say, if you're at all interested in motion graphics, I would be remiss if I did not mention that I'm doing a little series on my YouTube channel about it. The last episode is about to go up this Friday, so if you want to listen to that, go ahead and listen to that, huh? Might be fun, might be an enjoyable time for you. I don't know, I'm not the expert here, so... Oh wait, yeah. Sorry, I just realized I am an expert. Yeah, it will be fun, and that's my expert opinion. Fourtrees is recorded live in front of the studio audience here in Bristol, Druids Hollow Studios. Our theme was composed and performed by Spencer Chopin Grant and mixed by Alex Turner. Our graphics and 3D assets were designed by Spencer Diablo Grant, and our editor is Spencer Pagliacci Grante. The Warrior Cat series is written by Erin Hunter and distributed by HarperCollins. Please support the official release. You can find us at the web at spencergrant.co.uk/Fourtrees or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find our YouTube uploads with auto-generated subtitles and audio visualizations at youtube.com/SpencerGrant. Again, I've been Spencer, and you've been beautiful. Bye!